A very good morning to all of you. It is an honor and a pleasure to be back in Kerala. It's my third time in your beautiful state, God's own country. And I have to say, this is particularly special because I really appreciated what you said, Dean Ibrahim, that Kerala is a role model for the country. I would say, in fact, a role model for the world in many ways, in terms of your education. Yeah. And so it is truly an honor to be here. I am going to share three things today. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. Second, I'm going to tell you about the Partnership 2020 project. And third, I'm going to share some tips for studying in the US or actually anywhere else internationally. So those are the three parts of my talk. Starting with a little bit about my background and then the Partnership 2020. So I have had a very interdisciplinary background. I have not been an academic all my life. It's only in the past about 10 years that I found myself in the university. Before that, I've had experience working on Wall Street. I've had experience in government. I've had experience in running a small medium enterprise, SME, as well as in and out of universities. And even my own educational background is interdisciplinary. My undergraduate degree in religion, comparative religions, East and West, my master's degree in conflict resolution, and my PhD in public administration. I've led programs all over the world, and it's great to be here in India now. I first came to India in 1991, before most of you were born. I had a Fulbright, come please. I had a Fulbright Nehru Senior Scholar Award in 2011, and my family was with me at that time. My beautiful wife here in the middle, she is an orchestra conductor. You understand? Symphony orchestra, like a philharmonic orchestra. So her job is orchestra conducting. She is one of the very few women in this male-dominated field. And just to relate this briefly to Kerala, one of the things that I think Kerala can be a role model for the world is the education and the opportunity for girls and women in this state is truly exemplary. And I also, being the father of two daughters, am very much a feminist and a supporter of girls' opportunities and women's opportunities. My daughters were with me. My older daughter, Alana, is now 21 years old. She celebrated her golden birthday at the Taj Mahal. She turned 10 years old on July 10th when we were here and we were at the Taj Mahal. And my younger daughter, Leora, this little cutie up here on the elephant, celebrated her 8-year-old birthday in the pink city of Jaipur. And we rode an elephant up to the Ajmer Fort. I don't know if any of you have ever ridden an elephant before, but it is a scary experience. You're sitting on this kind of basket on top of this huge beast, and you're going, from side to side, holding on for your dear life. But we made it. It's all good. This daughter is now the one who's with me. She is 19 years old. My older daughter is in her 4th year at Oberlin College and Conservatory in Ohio, United States. and she is double majoring in viola performance. Viola is like a big violin. So she's doing music, and then in the college, she's majoring in theoretical mathematics. So music and maths is my older daughter. My younger daughter, who's with me now, is in her second year of college in London, and she is studying contemporary dance. This is like, I mean, she grew up studying ballet, but then about, I don't know, 5 years ago, she switched more to contemporary modern dance. So that's what they're pursuing. So I'm in a family of artists and musicians and dancers, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful home to be a part of. Among others, a great mentor to me here in India has been Sri Rajmohan Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi's grandson. And this is him in our flat in Jangpura in Delhi, and he leads a movement here called Initiatives of Change. I teach in the winters at a place called Panchgani. Panchgani is in Maharashtra, near Pune. It's a hill station. And it's a peace-building program for young leaders. And we have a program every summer in Switzerland, in Switzerland. So you'll see Rajmohan in the middle here, and then the faculty up front, his wife Usha, and other faculty members along with myself. If you want to hear more about this peace-building program, I'd be glad to share some of that with you. Now, to the second part of my talk today, Partnership 2020, U.S.-India Higher Education Cooperation. This is a $2 million project out of the U.S. Embassy in New Delhi to strengthen partnerships between U.S. universities and Indian universities. And there were 4 work products. The first is a searchable database of partnerships that exist between India and the U.S. Second is a practical guide for university leaders, like yourself, sir, who are looking at how to strengthen these partnerships. Third is policy recommendations to both the government of India and the US government on what policies they can adopt to strengthen partnerships. And fourth and finally are 15 sub-grants to American universities who have partners in India. One of those sub-grants went to Michigan Technical University, partnered right here with University of Kerala. And I'll have to say, all of these 15 projects were wonderful, but this project in particular, I think, has more potential impact than most other projects. Many times, research projects are more theoretical, but this had a very practical nature. And Professor Sajan Kumar has produced, along with his colleagues at Michigan Tech University, Professor Thomas Ullman and others, this first ever comprehensive flood map of the state of Kerala. As all of you know, and especially the geology students, Kerala has had a history of flooding, and those floods have often been devastating, taking lives, taking property, and leaving a wake of disaster. If this comprehensive flood map can inform policymakers about zoning, about water management, and about the bigger picture of what can be done to prevent the disasters of floods, I think this can truly save lives. Sajan, congratulations on this incredible accomplishment. And my hope for you and your colleagues is that the impact of your scientific work will indeed have a life-saving value. Right. I'm going to give you some other examples of the partnerships that we have funded through this project. One with North Carolina State University and NIT Raipur is looking at solar water pumps in the state of Chhattisgarh. And I went out and did a site visit out there. It's really impressive how they are using these solar-powered water pumps to transform many of the agricultural areas where before they were using diesel-powered or electric-powered pumps. This is actually not only having an impact in terms of climate change, but also on the livelihood of farmers. And I loved going out, especially on the site visit to the farmers' fields, and seeing these solar water pumps in action. Another example here, actually my university, University of Nebraska, Omaha, partnered with JP Institute of Information Technology and IIT Kharagpur on a cybersecurity project for election security. Now, in many places, including right in the United States, the elections have become a very volatile and difficult time. In fact, I will say with great embarrassment that the United States has had the sorts of political violence that we have hoped we would never see in the US. Post-2020 election, a group of former President Donald Trump's supporters stormed the US Capitol building and threatened the lives of the Vice President, the Speaker of the House, and others. And they claimed falsely, we call it the big lie, that the election was rigged. It wasn't. President Joe Biden won the election fair and square, and President Trump, unfortunately, made this into his cause. And I know as a political scientist, sir, you're watching this and thinking, my God, what's happening here? You know, I am truly frightened about 2024 and the potential for post-violence election. So election security is something, as a political scientist, that I am particularly interested in, and I'm so glad that this cybersecurity project was funded. Another project with Claflin University in South Carolina, which is a historic black university and college, HBCU we call it. They are partnered with Vishva Bharati in Shantiniketan. This is Tagore's place. And I'll tell you, this was one of the best site visits I have ever had. Shantiniketan is an abode of peace in the middle of West Bengal. And we had wonderful site visits. In fact, not the Consul General, but the public affairs officer from the US Consulate in Kolkata was with me on this site visit. And I loved it. This is really empowering women entrepreneurs in some of the rural areas of West Bengal. They are great crafts people. They're making these wonderful handicrafts, but they are exploited because, as they say, the middleman takes their beautiful handicrafts and then sells it in the market at an increased price, and then the middleman gets all that money, and still the women in the villages get very little. I said, there was this one beautiful, beautiful hand-stitched fabric. I said, how much do you get for something like that? This woman told me about 300 rupees. I said, how much does it sell for in the market? She said 3,000 rupees. 10 times markup. And who gets the profit? The middleman every time. Because the women are mostly uneducated and exploited, and teaching them very basic entrepreneurial skills, like how to open up a bank account, like how to think about profit and loss, about, keeping a budget. All of those little things can make a huge difference. And now this woman is empowered to take the handicrafts herself to the marketplace and cut out the middleman. So this is just another of the many projects, the 15 projects. Each one of them have their own stories. I love India. As I said, the first time I came was in 1991, and I've been coming back again and again and again. I've probably spent about 3 years of my life living, working, traveling in India, and I love it. The only place that I haven't been is J&K, Jammu and Kashmir. Not yet. I really want to go. I've heard it's absolutely beautiful. Oh, and I guess some of the Seven Sisters. I've been up in Sikkim, but not up into the far northeast. But every other state I've traveled, I've lectured, I've worked. Don't tell other states, but Carol is my favorite. So now to the third part of my talk today, tips for studying in the US and elsewhere. Let me start this section, the third and final section of my talk, with a caution. I would love to welcome any of you to come to the US and study. We, as you said, have about 200,000, 2 lakh students from India in the United States, but only about 5,000 per year come from the United States to India. I would like to see more balance in that. I believe we in the United States have a lot to learn from India, and not just the other way around. As you said, some of the most highly accomplished professionals in the US, and I would say also entrepreneurs who are starting businesses, are Indian origin. But I would also say, if you can, come back to India. Come study in the United States, great. But Kerala needs you. Kerala needs the minds, the best minds. Kerala needs the entrepreneurs, the job creation. Kerala needs you to come home and apply what you learn back here. Like you, Professor Sajan, who did your postdoc in the United States. And I know you could have created a different life, but you chose to come back, and now you are leading this amazing group of students here, giving back to the society. And that, to me, is a greater achievement than any other accomplishment that you might have. So, my 3 basic tips are this. I'm going to tell them, and then I'm going to come back. 1, think beyond the education to a job. 2, do not just shop the brand for your university, but find a program and a professor that is right for you. And finally, the big question on how to fund your education. And I'm going to talk just a little bit about the Fulbright program, with which I am very familiar. So, to that first point, I think that education is a great value in and of itself. I believe in education just for the sake of education. But I also know that it is important to have a job, a meaningful job where you can not only make enough money to provide for yourself and your family, but also, hopefully, to give back to society. In fact, I am going from here later to teach social entrepreneurship at JP Business School, where I've been on the faculty. I've been the international visiting faculty for 12 years. Every year, I teach social entrepreneurship to MBA students, Masters of Business Administration students, second-year batch. A lot of them are thinking about jobs, and they are getting pressure from their families, from society, to often go to government jobs. And government jobs are kind of the ideal for many of my Indian students. And I get that. It's security. It's a good pay. It's a lifelong, opportunity and a pension and all those good things that come. But I also think that India needs more entrepreneurs and more job creators, because the number one thing that young people in India need is good jobs, meaningful jobs, giving back to society in some way. And in my classes, I say, it's not just about making money. Yes, you have to make a basic amount of money to live. I get that. But after a certain point, it's more important what you are giving back to your society. The social entrepreneur, for me, is the ideal. Using your entrepreneurial skills to solve social problems in your communities. To me, that is the most important thing. So my hope is that, yes, you get educated for the sake of education, but you also think about the job that you're going to be doing and how that does more for you than just make money. Giving back and solving societal issues. Second, I sit on a committee that selects Indians to have Fulbright scholarships in America. And I see probably 100 applications every year, and I don't know how many, but 95% of those say, I want to go to Harvard because it's the best school in the world. I want to go to Stanford because it's the gateway to Silicon Valley. I want to go to Yale or whatever. And I almost always put those in the no pile, because it's simply brand shopping. And Indians are very brand conscious. And I'm sure your parents and others might be telling you, oh, go for the top, go for Harvard, go for Yale, go for Stanford, whatever. I always look at those that say, I want to apply for Michigan Tech University or University of Nebraska, Omaha, or I don't know, University of Kentucky, or some maybe not the brand name, but then they say, because I want to go and work with this particular professor, and they are a specialist in the area that I am most interested in, and in fact, I have included a letter of invitation from that professor in my application material. Now that's the application that I'm going to look twice at and say, yes, I'm going to put that in the yes pile, because they have done their homework. They are not just brand shopping, and they have a plan and in fact have already reached out and have an invitation from that professor to come to that particular university. Those are the applications that I am most interested in looking at and funding. Finally, the big question of funding your education. And this is a hard one. There are scholarships that are available at the university level. And I'll give you just one quick example of that. On Partnership 2020, when I was applying to the U.S. government, the U.S. State Department, for that funding, I wrote in a graduate assistant. And I then came to India and I recruited a guy who was getting his MBA. He's a social entrepreneur doing great things. And Akil came and was my graduate assistant, fully funded for his tuition and then a stipend every month for working for me, living, enough money for living. He wasn't making, he wasn't banking a lot of money, but he was at least able to cover his costs and have the tuition covered. And that was because I wrote into my grant that I was going to have a graduate assistant. And in my mind all along, I thought, I want an Indian, because this partnership 2020 is about U.S.-India higher education cooperation. Much better to hire someone from India who knows the culture, the university system, the whatever. And so that was, for me, a great way to recruit a top student to my university and then fund his education. So you have funding at the university level. There are, of course, scholarships. Depending on the university, there are international student scholarships. We at UNO have a number of those. And then I'm going to talk briefly about the Fulbright, which I just mentioned. I sit on a committee that selects students from India to come to the United States. So the Fulbright program was established in 1946 by a senator, Senator Fulbright, who had the idea that Americans need to learn more about the world, and the world needs to learn more about America. And so building people-to-people linkages was really the motivation behind the Fulbright fellowships. And as I said, I had a Fulbright Nehru Senior Scholar Award. In India, it's run by USIEF, the U.S. India Education Foundation. And USIEF has offices all over the subcontinent here. And they are co-funded. Half of the funding comes from the American side, half of the funding comes from the India side. Not all Fulbright commissions in every country are like that, but India in I believe it was the mid-90s, no, it was the early 2000s, decided to co-fund these and rename it as the Fulbright Nehru Fellowships. So these Fulbright Nehru Fellowships are coming from both sides and are building the sorts of linkages that we're trying to build there. If you do decide to apply for a Fulbright application, and maybe this applies to other fellowships as well, think about how to market yourself. Now that's a little bit antithetical to some thinking, right? I'm humble, humility is a great trait to have, but you also need to self-promote a little bit, because there's got to be a reason that the committee selects you. And being humble is great, but you've also done great things in your life. And think about those stories. Not just, this is so difficult for me to read these applications when they just list accomplishment 1, accomplishment 2, accomplishment 3, accomplishment 4, accomplishment 5, accomplishment 6, pretty soon I'm just like falling asleep, right? Especially if I'm on, application 98, 99, 100, I've already read all of these, and I'm like, please tell me a story. Tell me something, some engaging way that you're going to get the reader to think about you, not just as a list of accomplishments. I'm sure all of you have lists of accomplishments, but it's the stories that capture the human spirit. Tell your story. Go beyond just your experiences to what you've learned from those experiences. There are all sorts of ways that your life story has informed what your life lessons are. Tell me about those in your application. I think Fulbright is partly about achieving your life goals, right? It's not just about education. It's also about what this means for you and your life purpose, your bigger picture. This is partly related to my critique earlier of the brand shopping. Find a university that is a better match for you personally, and not just the brand of some impressive university that you want to be part of. Make it personal for you. There's a reason that you selected that particular university. And finally, and this is where I want to end, what are you going to bring back to India? Not just, what are you going to go off to America and learn? Great, we want that to happen. But how is this investment, again, co-investment of both the Indian government and the US government, going to impact India when you're done and you come back? To me, that's what I always look for in these applications. How will this Fulbright experience impact Indian society in a positive way? So that's some broad tips.